In this video, I'm going to be going over what I think are the best VTTs or virtual tabletops and which one your group should be using. Up first is Owlbear Rodeo. It is free, it's fast, it's easy to learn, it's easy to use, it integrates well with other apps or tools that you're using because it only does the map. This is a really good tool if you're just looking for something to show and display your maps, or if you're really big on improv and your players get into a lot of random fights and you want to just pull up maps really quickly. This is a great tool. It has a couple just generic maps that are already in there, and it's just like grass, water, things like that. So it's really good for that sort of situation. You don't need to log in. You can just go to the game, click start, and then invite all of your players onto your session. With that, though, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Where some of the drawbacks to Owlbear Rodeo come in is that you can't put your entire campaign on there. If you want to prep your whole campaign and have it all in one spot, Owlbear Rodeo is not great for that. It's not a great all-in-one tool. You're going to have your notes somewhere else, your character sheet somewhere else. It has a basic dice rolling tool, but you're really not going to use it much. It is a great tool, but you just need to understand what it is. It doesn't have voice, video, character sheets, stat blocks, any of that sort of thing. It does have really easy to use tokens. The Fog of War tool is really good. It makes it very convenient for uploading maps or using some of their generic ones that they already have on there. But that is pretty much all it does. And if that's what you're looking for, then Owlbear Rodeo is a great option for you. If you're looking for an all-in-one solution, that's what we're going to be talking about next. Roll20 is one of the most popular virtual tabletops, and it's great for beginners. It's really easy to learn. There's a ton of tutorials out there on YouTube, and everything is in one spot. To include a game finding feature, so if you're a new player and you're wanting to hop in with another group, Roll20 is great. It is probably my #1 recommended virtual tabletop for new players. Roll20 has basically everything you need in one spot. But with all of those pros, there are some cons. One of the more nitpicky negatives for Roll20 is that it can get bogged down during peak times because they're the ones that are hosting it. It can kind of pull from the immersion a bit if you have to wait 5 or 10 seconds for their initiative roll to show up or their attack roll to show up. And so it's a little bit of a con. It's not the worst thing ever. Another is that they're a bit slower to innovate and they let some of their tools get a bit out of dated. One of these is their music option or their jukebox. It just doesn't work very well. Another thing is their voice and video isn't great. Now, this is a pretty normal thing, and everyone pretty much just uses Zoom or Discord or something like that for their voice, but it's just something to note. My main issue with Roll20 is that it is expensive. As a Dungeon Master, you pretty much cannot use the free version because it doesn't let you share your compendium with your players, and so they won't have access to your source books or anything like that, and you can't make custom character sheets or anything, and so if you want to play a Tabaxi, you have to have the source book as a player. And not all of your players are going to want to have to go out and buy all of the different books for everything they're going to want to do. You're just somewhat limited in what you can do with the free version. So it's going to cost you $60 to $120 a year depending on the plan that you get, which this is pretty expensive, especially when they don't maintain their tools as well as I feel like they should. And there's a couple other negatives as far as them being expensive, and that's the source books and adventures I have never seen on sale. You're always paying full price for them, whereas on D&D Beyond, you can almost always get them for $20 cheaper. And it's hard to read it on Roll20. They don't have an app, and the mobile version of their website just isn't that great. So finding the books and then reading them is not a great experience if you're on your cell phone, and even on a computer, it isn't great. I prefer D&D Beyond. They have an app, and the mobile version of their website is a lot more easy to navigate, and finding the books is pretty easy, and they have a much more enjoyable reading experience. The other negative is Roll20 doesn't work well with other things. You can use your D&D Beyond characters on Roll20. It's a little bit weird, but there are ways to do it. But if you buy something on Roll20, you can't use it on anything else. You'll have to go buy them again, which is why Foundry VTT is my favorite. Personally, I think it is the best virtual tabletop, but it does have a high learning curve. Some things I like about Foundry: it's a one-time payment. Once you buy it, you own it, you don't have to pay for it again. Another is that it works well with D&D Beyond. There's a couple tools that you can get to import your characters, your modules, even monsters, into Foundry and use them. A lot of them are behind a $5 paywall on Patreon, but you can get a month subscription, download all of that onto your Foundry, and then have it. It also has a lot of mods out there, which I really like because I do a lot of weird stuff. And basically, if you want it, you can probably find a mod out there that makes that change or implements that. And almost all of them are free. It runs really smooth. I never have issues with it. It also has this weird but really cool feature where you can preload the next map or screen. So if you have a player with slow internet, I'll just click a button to preload the next map that I know that we're going to get onto. And then when we move to it, I just click the button and it moves everyone over immediately. They also have some pretty good music tools and ambient sound tools. You can also do it in an area of a map. So if you have a fire going, your players won't hear it until their tokens get close enough to it. And there's just a bunch of really cool tools on Foundry. I also really like using their wall tool. You can create windows, one-way walls that work well with like a cliff where you can fall off of it, but you can't move up it, and things like that. You also have different options for how you want to host your games. You can do it off of your computer, which is what I do. And I have players that play from Romania. I've had players in Brazil, and they can all connect and play just fine. But if you have slower internet, you can also find an online hosting option, which may work better for you. With all of those pros, it is not without a few cons. The biggest disadvantage with Foundry is that it has a high learning curve. With all the different mods and everything that you can get on there, it isn't the easiest to learn. It can be a little bit discouraging when you pay the higher upfront cost of $50 to buy it, and then you're not really sure how to host a game from it and get it all set up. But it's okay because there are a ton of tutorials on YouTube. So you might be thinking, wait, did you say Foundry is $50 to buy and Roll20 is the expensive option? And yes, I did, because as I said before, Roll20 is going to be $60 to $100 a year. Foundry is $50 and it's a one-time purchase. So at the end of the year, yes, it is a cheaper option. If you're going to be playing for less than 6 months, Roll20 might be a better choice for you as far as just money goes. It's easier to learn, and for less than 6 months, it often will be a cheaper option. But if you're going to be playing for a long time on a virtual tabletop, I highly recommend Foundry. Now, if you're thinking, what about Fantasy Grounds? Fantasy Grounds was over twice the price for the same features, so yeah, I just don't use that. Well, that's it for this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more D&D content, and leave a comment down below about any video that you want to see in the future.